What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video today, and in this video we are doing the 67th installment of Retro Reviews. Today we're going to be reviewing my Gemini Jets 1:400 scale Sun Country Airlines McDonnell Douglas DC-10-15. Do you ever have a model in your collection that you forget about for such a long time, and then you finally remember it and it's like, oh yeah, I have that one. That's actually really cool. This is another one of those examples that I have in my collection. So I've had this for a very long time. I got it in, I think it was 2012 or 2013, somewhere in there, but I have it marked down as 2012 because I have had this model for such a long time, and it's been through a lot with me. It's moved around to different houses a few times, and it's been damaged a little bit. The box has kind of been torn up, and it's in all sorts of bent out shapes. This model's been through a lot, and it has been a very big asset for the retro department and has soldiered on for so many years. We'll take a look at the box and I'll show you the scars that it has all throughout, and we'll go ahead and get started with the front. So we have the normal Gemini Jets box art for the time, limited edition die-cast model 1:400 scale. We got an image of the model, Sun Country, made for collectors by collectors, the Gemini Jets logo, historical livery Retro Jet sticker, and I've got the aircraft logo down there, and then the Boeing license, since of course Boeing owns all the licenses to McDonnell Douglas and Douglas Aircraft. And you'll note that I do not have a plastic cradle. I lost it many years ago. I don't know where it went. It just sort of vanished. It's kind of the mystery of my early days of the collection. Various models have vanished, plastic cradles have gone missing, and this is the solution that my parents had, was to stuff some like cloth or paper in here or something. I'll try to take some of it out, but I don't want to make it too much of a mess. But yeah, it's like the type of paper that you would use to wrap like those mugs or something, you know, like the stuff that's very fragile and can shatter easily. So it's something like that. It reminds me of what I got my North Central, like that Northliner Credit Union mug from Slimmerville at Airliners last year. It was wrapped up in something similar, but I think it was more newspaper than this actual cloth stuff. But yeah, that's been the solution to keep the model in there. It hasn't been put in the box for many years now, so it's very thankful for that. There's the flap, which contains the aircraft information, which of course we'll take a look at towards the end of the video. But I love this old Gemini Jets box. And there's the first big scar. I think this is from the wrapping paper, because I remember getting this for Christmas many years ago, and the wrapping paper tore off part of the box here, so you can still kind of see what it says and all that. This right side is fine. You got Gemini Jets, model image of the model, and then the airline and aircraft logos. Item number is GJSCX240. I believe this is the first ever Sun Country model they made, released in April of 2002. There's the top of the box, which has more of the tears from the wrapping paper, and then the left side, same as the right. And there's the back. Now, it is dated 2001, which is pretty interesting, but MadBee and all the other sources that I found state that it was released in April of 2002. And there's another scar there just for good measure. So yeah, this box has been through hell and back in so many different ways. It's, you know, it's crazy. And this model's certainly seen it too. And I'll show you the first scar that it has, which is the engine here. Now you'll note that this engine is hanging a little lower than the other one here, so I'll bring that one into view. There's the other engine, and then this one fell off at some point, so when we glued it in, we didn't shove it all the way into the pylon, so this engine now hangs a little bit lower than the other engine. But from a glance, you can barely notice it. Like, if I didn't say anything about it, you wouldn't even be able to tell that this other engine was hanging lower. So that's at least the good news with that. And ooh, you heard that. I don't know if you heard that sound as it was being moved around the surface. That's when you know this is an old school Gemini Jet. And the other thing you can tell is that tail seam as well. But let's go ahead and take a look at this review. Very lovely livery on this DC-10. They operated these for many years before they went bankrupt. So this model was released after they had exited bankruptcy and they had moved on to a fleet of 737s, more economical for them, which has worked for them to this day. Starting off, we have the nose cone and we have the cockpit windows. We've got this little like mark here, something like a sticker. I can't tell what that is. L1 door, there are some pitot tubes down here, very nice printed detail. And then we've got the awesome Sun Country titles that come into view, which are slanted upward. They're angled upward or whatever you want to say, but you have this yellow line that swoops up and then this red line that starts to come into play. There's that engine, of course. Overwing door right there. There's no markings on this aircraft, and there's like a little... So there's another one right here. I didn't notice this. There's like a blob of something. I think that's the glue that we use to fix the engine. I think that's what that is, but I could be wrong, and I don't know. Maybe it's just some mysterious substance, but you know, this has been in my collection for many years. So whether or not it's exactly that, I can't tell, but I digress. There's the back of the passenger window line, and then underneath that you have the registration, November 154 Sierra Yankee, and then the American flag. And then there's the rear boarding door. There's that tail seam that I was talking about, a distinct characteristic of all the OG Gemini Jets models. And there's the Sun Country tail. So the logo certainly hasn't changed that much over the years. The newer iteration makes it a little more bold, I guess, with the lines that go across that logo there, and then the S also changed a little bit. And then on the right side of the aircraft, not too much to report on, other than the luggage doors and the better engine on this side. And then there's also, just notice on the wings, there is a little light on there as well. And then the navigation lights, very common and standard on all aircraft. And then there's the tail once again. And this aircraft does have the, set the engines on here, yeah, General Electric CF6-52CF engine. So those are the power plants fitted on this aircraft. And of course, it's got 3 of them since it's a DC-10. And then we'll flip it underneath. We got the very old Gemini Jets logo, and there's also this little seam, which is where that other landing gear would go if they were releasing a DC-10-30. Since the Series 10 and 15 did not have it, the Series 30 introduced that. I think partly because the maximum takeoff weight was higher than the older DC-10 series, so they needed that extra landing gear to help support that weight. My FedEx MD-1030 does have that, and I think my Dragon Wings one also has that as well, the DC-1030, before they did the upgrades. And then the top of the aircraft, just a beacon light and various wing details. Very primitive by today's standards, but for the time, this was considered the norm. So awesome DC-10 that I have, and this is... yeah, this is the only passenger DC-10 that I have, so kind of interesting that it is of this airline, which, you know, they previously had this type and then the 727s before they went bankrupt in the early 2000s. They got rid of all of them and they moved to 737s, and I don't think those ever wore this livery. I think they just went straight to that blue livery after they had exited bankruptcy and resumed operations with the 737s. And fun fact about Sun Country too, their first ever flight was from Las Vegas to Sioux Falls, so we're looking to model that in a retro FSD update. If Aero Classics or Gemini Jets wants to release the Sun Country 727 in the first ever livery, that would be fantastic. But now let's take a look at the real-life aircraft's history. This aircraft first flew on April 3rd of 1981, and her first operator was Mexicana in June of that year, and was given the registration November 10045. She then went to Aero Peru after about 12 years, but it was temporary, so I imagine this was like a lease, because she went back to Mexicana in September of 1994. Then she went to Aero Cancun in May of 1996 and was given a Mexican registration, X-Ray Alpha-Tango Delta India. And then she went to Sun Country in August of 1997, so she was only with them for a few years before they went bankrupt, and was given that registration modeled on the aircraft. After they went bankrupt, she was put into storage, and the aircraft was scrapped in 2004. And that will do it for this episode of Retro Reviews. With that being said, thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.